Game day's here, I can hear the crowd. Turn on the lights, fans are cranked up and loud. Red or blue, we wear it proud. Yeah, we love our teams in this border town. Chiefs and Royals, Boo Mizzou, Rock Chalk, Jayhawk, KU. Hear that drum pounding in your feet. Yeah, you're marching to the beat of KC.
What is going on, YouTube? What is going on, Kansas City? What is going on, Jayhawk Nation? And what is going on, everybody? And welcome to the beat of KC. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Lucas Murphy, and I'm excited to bring you all this video today. Obviously, the Kansas Jayhawks will be returning to the greatest environment in college basketball. That is Allen Fieldhouse. Beware of the fog. Ladies and gentlemen, you're talking about the greatest fan base, the greatest student section, and literally the greatest environment in all of college basketball. Now, this is going to be the final exhibition game for the Kansas Jayhawks, and a lot of people may be disinterested in this game. There's absolutely no reason to be disinterested. I think there's so much learning opportunities from the game against Louisville, and there's a lot of things that we can gain and build momentum on in this as we prepare for the regular season. And that's really what we're going to take an opportunity to do and talk about in this video is, what did we learn from the Louisville game? What can we apply in this game against Fort Hays State as we literally get ready for the regular season, which is coming up in just a few days after this exhibition game? There's a lot of opportunity that as a fan, we can see how things are transpiring, how things are developing on the court, how Bill Self is managing the rotations, who's coming off the bench, what players are playing with who. I think there's just so much opportunity to really see. And obviously you expect Kansas to win this game and win this game easily, but I still think there's a formidable opponent in Fort Hays State, which we'll talk about. There's some experience with coaching on that side. And so I think that, obviously their coach, Mark Johnson, is going to have them well prepared to come in and face a very, very talented Kansas Jayhawks basketball team. So let's go ahead and jump right in. So the Kansas Jayhawks will be playing in their final exhibition game of the season against MIAA opponent Fort Hays State. And one of the big things I really appreciate of Bill Self is he tries to get an MIAA opponent on the exhibition schedule every year. I think that just shows you that he's giving back to that conference, but also gives those young athletes an opportunity to come into an environment like, Allen Fieldhouse and play in front of a huge crowd, play in front of that environment, and just be a part of history, because that's really what that auditorium, it's not really an auditorium, that stadium is all about. I mean, Allen Fieldhouse is historically, like, when you enter in Allen Fieldhouse, there's an aura about it. Like, you feel the hair on your neck stand up because you just feel everything. You look up in the rafters and you see the names and the history and all the wins that and the titles and things that come with being a part of what Kansas basketball is about. And so I think giving those young basketball players an opportunity from Fort Hays State to come in and experience that in a playing environment is phenomenal. So we always at least like to play an MIAA opponent, like I stated. Now, this is a great opportunity for the Jayhawks to build upon their momentum and really the lessons they learned against Louisville. One of the big things was how they managed the floor and played when Darryn Peterson's not on the floor. Now, we expect Darryn Peterson to play a significant amount of minutes. We expect him to be the leader when he's on the floor, but there's going to be times where he has to come off. And so when he does, who takes charge? How is the offense flow? How's defense? And so looking back on the 2024-2025 season, the Fort Hays State Tigers went 22-10 overall. They were 12-7 in conference. And one of the biggest things is they finished fourth in the regular season standings, but they earned a number 2 seed for the conference tournament, and they were able to win that tournament. And so they would represent the MIAA in the postseason. Only one starter returns from last year's team, and that's Kyle Grill, who averaged 11.6, 4.6 rebounds. Now, there will be several returners, several reserve players that and 3 players that redshirted that will join the starting rotation. They did lose about 37.8 points per game from the 4 starters who exhausted their eligibility last year, including 5-time All-MIAA selection Caleb Hammocky and all-defensive team pick Sean Riley. Now, defensively, they were very strong last year. They only allowed 59.9 points per game to opponents for the second consecutive year. And so, Coach Mark Johnson has these guys strapping down offenses on his offenses and really playing good defense. Offensively, the Fort Hays State Tigers averaged 66.3 points per game. And like I stated, Coach Mark Johnson enters his 25th season at Fort Hays State University and has an overall career record of 473 and 230, and he is the all-time wins leader at the school. Now, I think it's an awesome opportunity, like I stated, for those guys to come into Allen Fieldhouse and play. And I'm really excited to kind of see Kyle Grill play. I really think, too, one thing that I enjoy watching is how these guys play. Do they step up to really kind of the environment, or do they just are in shock and awe because they're in that environment? There's a large crowd. How do they respond? Do they kind of overly play, those types of things? So I enjoy kind of watching that, and we'll see how they play against, the Kansas Jayhawks. Now, recapping what the Kansas Jayhawks did against the Louisville Cardinals, they did defeat them 90-82 in that exhibition game on the road in Louisville, Kentucky, in KFC Yum Center. And really the biggest thing was Darryn Peterson, ladies and gentlemen. We obviously talked about him in the recap of our video, but I just kind of want to touch over some of those players again before we really talk about learning opportunities and things we can address in this game. Darryn Peterson led this team with 26 points, 5 steals, 4 rebounds, and 2 assists. Now, we talked about being in front of the light, and could that pressure be too much? Clearly, in this case, Darryn Peterson's been in that environment. He's had the pressure put on him. He's been in a lot of key situations through his basketball career, and this was one he handled very smoothly. He scored 24 of 26 in the first half, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, the fact that guys like Desponsa, Boozer, and others in his class we're relatively in that same mark. I think Boozer scored 30 and 33. You saw Desponsa right in that same area. But the fact that Darryn Peterson put up 24 of his 26 and could have easily exploded for more in the first half just speaks to the type of player he was. I do believe there were 25 scouts on hand to see Darryn Peterson play, so he lived up to the hype, ladies and gentlemen. In the first half, he was 8 of 11 shooting, including 6 of 9 from 3 overall. Peterson poured in 16 of the team's first 30 points and helped launch to a 9-0 start. The Kansas Jayhawks, they came out hot. They were pushing the ball. They were playing a different style of offense, which we talked about. And I think that's the biggest thing. And we're going to talk a little bit about free throws here in a minute, but ladies and gentlemen, we're just seeing a different style of offense. We're seeing no longer having to work high to low, no longer having to force it down to a big man like Hunter Dickinson and have him work the paint and get fouled or kick it out and try to feed guards. Ladies and gentlemen, this offense is going to be able to, they're going to still run plays. That's Bill Self's mentality, but they're going to be able to work the ball around. Each one of them are going to be able to shoot the basketball. They're going to, yes, they still have a big man type in Flory Badunga, but he's even gaining more athleticism. He's gaining more flexibility and being able to move quicker. We actually saw Flory defend their best guard last against Louisville and just kind of manage it. And so we're seeing the growth from Flory. And again, I know we're talking about Darryn, but there really is a lot more opportunity with an offense that you can drive and kick and really work and hit the threes and shoot mid-range and really get to the free throw line versus just having to almost force it down to a guy like Hunter Dickinson. So I'm really excited to see this offense really build upon that. This video is sponsored by DM Law. If you've been injured in an accident, you may be entitled to significant compensation. Time is critical, so rely on experienced personal injury attorneys at DM Law, a leading firm through Missouri and Kansas. At DM Law, every wrong must be made right. As a dedicated personal injury practice supported by a skilled team of investigators, case managers, and medical record specialists, you pay nothing unless they win your case. As they operate on a contingency fee basis, free consultations are available. If you have been injured, do not wait. Contact DM Law today to learn how they can help you pursue the compensation you deserve. Let their team handle the case while you focus on recovery. If you have been hurt in a car accident, call Mike. Mike's got this. The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely on advertisement. Thanks to DM Law for sponsoring this video. And so like I stated, the Jayhawks held the lead for more than 35 of the 40 minutes in this basketball game. Now, other contributors, sophomore Flory Badunga had 14 points to 6 rebounds. I anticipate him to really maintain that, uptick that a little bit at times. I would expect him to potentially have about the same, maybe a little bit more in this game. And then one of the guys that I'm almost kind of lost for words a little bit. And I think it's just because I expected him to have a good season, but I really didn't expect him to do what he did. And Bryson Tiller, ladies and gentlemen, 12 points, 7 rebounds, 4 blocks. Like we stated, Flory is a big man, a true big man, and he's building and learning and educating himself and developing his body to be able to play a lot more fluid. Ladies and gentlemen, that is one of the biggest things that seeing Bryson Tiller on the floor as a bigger-bodied individual basketball player, his fluidity, his ability to really move and work, and how he flows on the floor is just incredible to me, because as a big man that can do that, you're just opening the door. And the same can be said for Trey White, but there was just a different vibe about Bryson Tiller. And I don't want the pressure to get to him this season, because we can see that can happen. We saw how Cole Rosario really kind of, the lights hit the floor, and he tried and played decently, but he just did have a whole lot of contribution. Bryson Tiller, on the other hand, has had a little bit of time with Kansas. He came in early, experienced an injury, but really kind of took that opportunity to develop and build and learn. And so Bryson Tiller, ladies and gentlemen, I'm just excited to see him grow and develop. And that's one of the things we're going to really kind of talk about here in a second, is him playing with Flory. Now, Marco Jackson, returning after missing the 2024 to 2025 season due to an injury, would score 11 points and perfect 9 of 9 from the free throw line, ladies and gentlemen. And now this next player also was relatively perfect from the line. Melvin Council Jr., 11 points, 9 of 10 from the free throw line. So you're seeing the opportunity for free points, and that you're going to see in every video that I do. Free throws are kind of like my thing. Those are free points, ladies and gentlemen, and you're going to get a lot more opportunities this year, because you're driving to the basket, you're working to the basket, and there's just going to be a lot more movement on the floor. You're not having to, again, just force it down to a big man. So there's going to be a lot more fouls where these guys are going to get opportunities to go to the free throw line, and you have to be able to hit those free points. And so the next final person we're going to talk about is Trey White. 14 points, including 2 3-pointers. I'm excited to see him continue to develop and build inside this, lineup. I think Trey White is a phenomenal basketball player. Bill Self has talked about him. He's raved about him in multiple occasions. And so I'm excited to see Trey White continue to evolve inside this offense. I'm excited, ladies and gentlemen. I am. Even though this is an exhibition game, there's still so much we can learn. I talked about it a little bit extensively in the previous game, and it's something that we're going to talk in the recap as well. I just think that there's so many things that we can witness in this exhibition game as we prepare for the regular season. I'd be curious to see how the rotations work. Who's actually going to start in this game? We saw Cole Rosario start last game, but he didn't contribute a whole lot. So did Marco Jackson jump him really on the depth chart, or are they going to give Cole another shot inside Allen Fieldhouse to kind of redeem himself? Are we going to see Flory, and are we going to see Bryson Tiller play together, or is it going to be Bryson coming off the bench and Flory playing with Trey White and 3 other guards? How is this going, the starting rotation versus the bench, going to work? Who can we expect to come off the bench and contribute minutes? I think also how the offense is going to flow. Is Darryn Peterson just going to go off in this game because it is a lesser opponent? Or are we going to see him really kind of build up and work and develop his other guys around him? What type of shooting are we going to see? Because I'd like to see the three-point ball be shot a little bit better. They're going to be in their home environment, so are they going to be able to hit the three-point ball? And I really think, too, defensively, really working on defense in this game, building momentum on the defensive side of the basketball. Now, the Kansas Jayhawks in the game against Louisville, they led as many as 16 at halftime, so the score was 46-30. So really, for the most part, you would expect that game to be out of hand. But they maintained a sizable lead through the second half, even though Louisville kind of had a comeback. And that's one of the biggest things. I don't expect Fort Hays State to really be a team that's in the game. They might start out hot, and they may stay within Kansas for a little bit. but then I expect the athleticism, what Kansas Jayhawks basketball is to outweigh and outplay the Fort Hays State Tigers in this basketball game. So when that does start to happen, is that due to the defense, or is that just, how the game just plays? I really want to see this team locked down in defense and really kind of build upon momentum on that, because ladies and gentlemen, the regular season is right around the corner. There's a lot of things that we can see. I mean, seriously, Cole Rosario is one I want to see. Maybe we're going to see guys like Corbin Allen. There's a few others that I would anticipate maybe seeing in this game. I would also anticipate at some point within the last 2 to 3 minutes, you're going to see the walk-ons come in this game. And there's some hype around that. They come in and their intent every time is to hit the 3 ball. So be curious to see who that is in this game. Just a lot of learning, a lot of good opportunities in this basketball game. And I don't want to dismiss it. I think that there's so much that you can build upon and really learn and just start to prepare for this regular season that is coming up very, very soon. So I appreciate you all checking out this video. Let me know down in the comment section what you're paying attention to. Who are you really identifying? A lot of people will continue to say year in and year out, or game in and game out will be Darryn Peterson, but just let me know who you guys are going to be paying attention to. I appreciate all the love, all the support. It really does mean a lot to me. You guys, it's been phenomenal. This Kansas product has just been something I enjoy giving out. So let me know down in the comment section. Smash that like button, smash that subscribe button, and I end every video the exact same way. Have a good day.